Let's try that again. I apologize. Thank you, Joe. Hey, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Joshua from Georgia Cresties, and this is the first episode of Crestie Conversations. I appreciate all of you being here. Before we go any further, sorry, I saw that. I just fixed that. I apologize, y'all. Thank you, Northern Herper, D's Gex. I appreciate it. Can y'all hear me now? Are we good? Thank you, Gex. So this is the first episode of Crestie Conversations. Before we go any further, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the Geckoverse podcast channel, Joe from Wildcard Geckos and Reese at House of Reps for giving me this platform and opportunity to be on my own podcast and have the opportunity to share my knowledge of crested geckos with everyone else and also learn more at the same time. Um, Fun fact, yesterday was Ree's birthday, so everyone make sure to go into the chat and say happy late birthday, Reese. Happy birthday, Reese. Hope you had a great birthday. I saw that chocolate cake. I hope it looked good. It looked really good. I hope it was good and you had a good birthday. So, for this episode, I'm going to be breaking it down into 3 segments. The first segment, I'm going to be going over why I decided, hey, how you doing, exotic world of geckos? I'm doing well, yourself? So the first segment or the first part, I'm gonna be going over why I decided to do a podcast in the first place. In the second segment, I'm gonna be going over a little bit of who I am and what I do here at Georgia Cresties. And the last segment, I'm gonna be introducing you to the world of crested geckos and give you the lowdown, give you a little bit of the beginner knowledge of crested geckos. All right. So before we go anywhere else, thank you, Northern Herper. Happy birthday, Reese. All right. So let's get into it. So I don't know why I always didn't want a podcast. I was like, never would join the wave, but just like everything else, I hopped on the wave. I may be a bandwagon, but not with Georgia football. All right, love me my dogs, go dogs. All right, so I hopped on the bandwagon. I was like, yeah, it would be awesome, but not just that. I really wanted 2025 to give me the opportunity to get out from behind the phone and give myself a platform so people could see who I am. I've always been someone that just posts the geckos, and while I do have amazing geckos and beautiful geckos, I want people to know me and who they're getting their geckos from as well, and also know that whenever they have a question about geckos, that they can or crested geckos, they can come to me, and I'll be able to help them in the best way I can, whether it's from me or someone else that I know that can help them with that. With that being said, I do not know everything about crested geckos. I'm pretty sure no one knows everything about crested geckos. They're fairly new, and not new, but in the last 30 years they were rediscovered, and so everyone is still learning everything. Not everything I say may be up to date in 5, 10 years or whatever. So I really wanted to create this platform for learning and knowledge. We're not going to be doing like put anyone down for anything if they've been misled before. That's not something right. We're all here to further the health and the lives of the crested geckos, and I'm always wanting to put them first and give them the best life possible. Every decision I do when it comes to all of my geckos is for the betterment of their lives and not just me. I make sure that I am planning out all of my pairings, and so that I know exactly what, not exactly what I'm going to get, but I know I'm producing very high quality stuff. Hey, House of Reps, how are you doing? Happy late birthday. There he is. Everyone say happy late birthday to Reese. Again, you were late, but it's okay. It's okay. We still love you. Um, but yeah, so I really wanted to get out from behind the phone and get to know more people and have more people know me. And I wanted to create an atmosphere of learning and knowledge and also happiness. Of course, we're not here for any hate or anything like that. But yeah, it's all about learning about crested geckos. My goal is to have people on the show in the future, ranging from people that are just finding out what crested geckos are and having tons of questions, and that's perfectly fine. I love questions because how are you going to learn if you don't ask any questions? So if you ever have any questions, please ask me. I will do my best to answer them. Okay. Never think you're going to bother me with anything. I love talking about geckos. Obviously, I'm creating a podcast about it. Uh, so yeah, I'd love to talk about geckos. Hit me up anytime on Instagram, Georgia Cresties, or my website. Um, so going into so we're going to have people ranging from beginners all the way to people that have been in the hobby for 10 plus years. I really want to have a wide scope of knowledge coming into this podcast so that we're getting all ends, all sides. Don't clip that. All sides of the spectrum of the Crested Gecko hobby. Okay, so a little about me. My name is Josh. I am in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and I am a small to medium sized crested gecko breeder. I have been doing this. Oh, Georgia Cresties, if you didn't know. Okay, sorry. Um, I have been doing this. This is my 5th year breeding crested geckos. I I really never thought I would get into it like this. I never, growing up, I never really got into reptiles like that. I always thought they were cool, but I never had a love for them. But then in college, when I was at Kennesaw State, I got a random roommate named Jake. I don't know if Jake watching this, but if he is, hey Jake, love you, dude. Um, Jake is the reason why I got into reptiles to begin with. He was a random roommate that turned into my one of my best friends. He got a bearded dragon named Kelso. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I love Kelso and I post him whenever I can. Um, Bearded dragons are really cool. I'm gonna have people not just Crested Gecko related. I'm gonna have people in the bearded dragon world, in the gargoyle world. I'm trying to get every once in a while have a little bit of everyone come in, so it's not all Cresty all the time. I know that may be a lot for some of y'all. Me, I'll talk about them all day, but we're gonna switch it up every once in a while. All right. Um, but so, Jake, he had Kelso, and just everyday living, he would teach me more and more about Kelso, more about reptiles. I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. I kind of want to get into this. So I did research, and my first reptile was a leopard gecko. I named him Stark, and I got him as a baby. I had him for a couple months, but unfortunately, as many of you know, for baby. Yep, I'll have Chihuahua too, Northern Herper. Okay, sorry, I just left them off the list, but I got you. Uh, so for leopard geckos, it's more difficult to grow them up from hatchlings than it is for crested geckos. Crested geckos are known as one of the best beginner reptiles for people. Super easy care, but you still can't slack on that care. Just because it's easy doesn't mean you get to do less. You still got to take care of them just like you would a dog or a little baby. You know, I treat these like my little babies. That may be weird. Oh well, get over it. So, um, but yeah, so I got a leopard gecko, but unfortunately, for some reason, I never knew. I took him to the vet. They couldn't figure it out. He would not eat anything besides superworms. And as some of you know, superworms have a hard exoskeleton. And I tried 8 different foods. He did not want to eat it, even the syringe feeding. He didn't want to take that. And so I would give him one superworm every, like, once a week maybe, see if he could do that, or like 2 or 3 times a week, trying to do that. And eventually, the superworm, he wasn't able to pass one of them or to digest one of them, and he died to impaction, unfortunately, which does happen in the leopard gecko world. Unfortunately, it was just something that was out of my control. And just being full disclosure, that's the only reptile I've had die on me, honestly. And I just don't know what I could have done different in that situation. I took him to the vet, everything. But, anyways, after I had the leopard gecko, I did more research, and I was like, oh, crested geckos are pretty cool. So Jake and I went over to, what was it? It is an exotic pet store over in Kennesaw, Georgia. Creation Pet. That's what it is. Yep, Jake from State Farm. He's cool. This guy, he has long, flowy hair. He's a cool dude. Uh, so yes, so we went over to the exotic pet store, and they had substrate. Anyway, so I went over there, and they were like, "Oh, we have this crested gecko." I was like, "Oh, cool. Can I like get him out?" And the moment they put him in my hand, I was like, "Oh, this thing is amazing. Like, this is definitely like my gecko. Okay, like my type of gecko." And so, like, feeling him like walk up your arm, like feeling those toe pads, it was like for the first time, like I'm sure a lot of y'all know like what it feels like. Like it was just like mesmerizing to me. I was like, oh, this is the animal for me. And so I got Bo back in I think 2018, 2019. Okay, let me look at the comments real quick. I'm saying I didn't say any substrate. I saw that, but I didn't see anything after that. Sorry, Joe. Anyway, so I got Bo, got him home. One thing, one little quick tip: when you are transporting crested geckos, please put them in smaller containers. Don't leave them in their normal size crates like this here. I did not know that at the time, and so when I got him, he had a tail. When I got back to my apartment, he did not have a tail. He fell once, freaked out, and dropped his tail. So you live and you learn. This is the only time I've had a gecko drop a tail during transport. So that is a good little tip for you if you did not know. Always keep them small containers. But so I got Bo and I was like, yo, this thing is like really cool. I kind of want more of them, right? Hmm? Yes. Like potato chips. Once you get one, you just got to have the entire bag. And I'm about to get into that. So I got Bo and I was like, yo, this thing is amazing. And so I was like, I kind of want more. And so I was like thinking logically, right, guys? If I get another one, it should be a female. So that when I can breed them, I can get free babies, right? Little tip: breeding crested geckos is not cheaper. Okay? If you're wanting just to get a few more geckos, just buy a couple, okay, before you get into breeding, because then you'll have tons of geckos. Yeah, I have, I think, 38 now. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Northern Herper. It gets out of hand quick, but it's a good way. I wouldn't trade this for anything. I love coming home and just being with my geckos and just staring at them in the little dumb derpy faces and just spending time with them. So there we go. And so I got another female, or I got a female, Athena, from Gecko Loco Exotics, I believe, in Florida. And by the time she was big enough to breed, I had bought in three other geckos. So just like Northern Harper, it gets out of hand. And so I actually, hold on, let me get this dude out real quick. I actually got this guy right here to pair with Athena. His name is Hercules. Let's see if Hercules will participate tonight. Here is Hercules. There he is. Hercules is from Altitude Exotics. If y'all don't know Brian, he is a big time breeder now over in Colorado. I have learned so much from Brian, especially getting started in the crested gecko, like not in the world, not even before like trying to make it a hobby or anything like that. Yep, he's right there. And so I've learned so much from his videos, all his Instagram videos, stuff like that. So if you're looking for a bigger person that has a ton of knowledge and really, really nice geckos, go to Brian at Altitude Exotics. Love that guy. There you go, Brian. Is a free plug for you. There you go. You're welcome. Um, anytime. You're awesome, dude. So I paired Athena to him right here. Okay. And he is, I believe, 5 years old now. Four, five, five, four. Okay, four. Don't give me that attitude. 4 years old. There you go. And Athena produced 16 eggs her first season. For a first season breeder to have 16 babies is pretty nuts. And so I had babies, and then I had people being like, "Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. I love your babies. Like, could I get one?" And then I was thinking, "Oh, maybe I could do this as a little hobby type thing." And so I started doing more research into it. And if you know Georgia Cresties at all, you know what I really look forward to. Like my motto is health, structure, beauty. I really started to learn about all of those in crested geckos. And I started to learn how to make healthy, beautiful crested geckos with great structure. Because if you're going to do something, you might as well do it damn right. Am I right, guys? Um, so I made sure I was doing all the research about how to breed, how to like do the pairings, And for me, I'm someone that always likes to know what I'm going to like pair or something, like what I'm going to get out of it. I don't like pairing like not wild. Well, also I like breeding calmer geckos, but I don't like breeding like the one-off, like the crazy different from mom and dad geckos. I like to have more of a know-how of what the babies I'm going to produce are going to look like. In another video, I'll go over structure and all of that. I have a little short video on my YouTube and over at Georgia Cresties, I did a little short explanation, but I'll go live another week and I will get into that. So within a couple years, I was like, ooh, I started breeding them. And I believe so far I've produced around 70 babies in the past 4 years. This year, I'm really focusing on lily whites, extreme harlequins, tricolors, and super dalmatians. My super dalmatian project is actually like really cool. Or actually, so not this year. Next year, I'm doing a super dalmatian. I really for first year super dalmatian productions, they're really cool. Loaded of spots. They have red spots, bullseye spots. One of them has a cluster spot on his knee. So it's like he has every kind of spot, everything bagel. And again, in my third episode, I'm going to be going over morphs. So this episode, I'm doing a intro. Welcome to Crestie Conversations. Welcome to the world of geckos. My second episode, I had a request to do a how-to video, make all of my tubs. So I will go through and show you my setup, and I'll show you how I do all of my tubs for my geckos and how they live. You'll see I have them vertical. For me, it just provides them, I think, 1 or 2 more inches of space. And not me, but if you're a size queen, you want those 2 more inches, right? And so I always give them a little bit more room to climb because crested geckos are arboreal. They like to have vertical space. So that's what they do. Um, so yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Let me give you a little rundown of my gecko room real quick, okay? So right here behind us, this one right here, I have my breeder males. Most of my breeder males will be right here. And this one right here, I have my breeder females. And then let's see if I can pick y'all up. Hey, we're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship. Over here, the top two is Bo and Athena, ones that I will be keeping forever. There's only a handful of geckos that I will say that I will keep forever. Hercules is one of them. Look at it, little doing hello you. So yeah, so we got Hercules, the babies right there as well, and then here is a crap. Don't look at that right now. Is a little crap drawer. And then here is where I will have juveniles and babies as well. Okay, so a little inside tour. Welcome to my home. Entry, please. Over here, that's Hercules, right there. Hercules' tank. Another one that's all keep him forever. Here is the adults that I'm going to be selling. So if you see me ever at a reptile show, which I have been doing those for 3 years, you can catch one of these bad babies at one of those reptile shows. All right, hear me out. Northern Herper, what looks familiar? Me or the gecko? Anyways, and then this rack right here is a couple, 3 breeder males, upcoming breeders, and one upcoming breeder female as well. So that is a little rundown of my crested gecko room. Hope you enjoyed that, because I sure did. Whoop! Let's get this back in focus. All eyes on me, of course. That's how I like it. Boom. It needs to come down a little bit, don't it? Oh yeah, the tubs. I forgot. I've seen a clip on it on YouTube where I got the idea for the tubs. Um, but yeah, next week I'll go over where I get everything, how I set up the tubs, including the vents, the poking of the holes for the right ventilation, and I really do prefer the tubs over regular tanks, especially if you have a lot. Um, for one, I use bigger tanks. I like to use not bigger, the appropriate size tanks for adults. These 66 quart tubs equal out right at like an 18 by 24, which is what adults need. And so if I'm going to even if I'm selling these geckos, I'm still going to have them in the appropriate size tub at all times. It's just only right to the gecko to treat them fairly and to do what's best for them, right, little guy? Yeah, say thank you. You're welcome. And so, yeah, I'm a fan of the tubs. It's a lot easier to clean up, but that is for the next episode of Crestie Conversations. We're not thought it was pretty cool. Um, anyways, so let's get into it. What are crested geckos, and why am I wanting to talk about them? All right. So as I showed you, this is a crested gecko. The name crest comes from those little spikes on his head right there. Whoop. See the little spikes on his head that go down? Those are called crests. Now, for new people, I know that can look a little scary, but they're very soft. You don't have to worry about them poking you, anything like that. Very, very soft. Crested geckos come from the island of New Caledonia, which is off the east coast of Australia. Good day, mate. It's nighttime. So they were actually thought to be extinct up until the mid 90s. Okay? During some research some scientists were doing on the island, there was a big storm, and one of these little dudes was knocked out of a tree and landed on the window where they were doing the research of the local plants, flora over there. And that's how they were rediscovered. Shortly after that, they were brought over to the United States, and people started captive breeding them. And now excuse me, apologize, that was kind of nasty. Now there's hundreds, if not thousands, of crested gecko breeders around North America, and everyone trying to make a little more of these guys because they're addictive. If you're gonna have an addiction, let it be this, okay, guys? Drugs, not cool. So yeah, they come from New Caledonia. They came over here. We've only been working with them for 30 years or so. It's believed that they leave between 15 and 20 years on average. I know there's a couple of crested geckos out there. I don't remember who owns them at the moment, but they are around 22 to 25 years old. So in captivity, they can live longer. Um, it's just really cool. This dude, my oldest guy, Bo, he's 9, turning 10 this year. So to know that I still have like 10 years left with him is like pretty awesome. Oh no, I froze. I'm sorry. Let's see. Can y'all still hear me? You. Hold on. I'm sorry. You go up there. Joe, if you hear me, do you know how to not get it to do this? Hold on, guys. Technical difficulties. Let's see. Does anyone see me, or am I just paused here? Okay, there we are. Okay. I am back, I think. I hope. I want to be. Hold on. I'm propping something up else. No. Sorry, guys. Apologize. This is my first time going live, so please bear with me for the technical difficulties. I'll try to have it more together next time. I apologize, y'all. Let me scroll back down. Yep. Sorry. I know I was frozen. I have good internet. I don't know why I froze. I don't know. Sorry. Where was I? So, crested geckos. So, these little guys, some people say that you can cohabitate crested geckos. For me, I always want to do what's best for them, as you probably already heard me say a couple times. You'll probably get sick of me saying it, but I'm gonna say it some more because these little dudes deserve it. All right, thank you, Northern Herbert. Um, from babies, like as soon as they hatch, I keep my geckos in separate containers, separate tubs. I, when they're babies, they can think the others, or like the clutch mate, they come out in clutches of two. So if the sibling to the other one thinks the other's tail, the end of the tail, he doesn't have one, but usually they'll be about double this size. And they'll try to eat the end of the tail thinking it's a cricket or one of their toes and bite off one of their toes thinking it's a bug when they move. And so I just negate that problem, nip that problem in the bud before it happens, and I keep them separate. The only time I have my geckos together is for if it's like a couple minutes and I'm doing a video, making sure they're not interacting or any like biting, anything like that. Speaking of biting, crested geckos, they can bite. It doesn't hurt. This guy, the males tend to be a little bitey during breeding season, but I've sat here and let him bite my finger like 10, 15 times in a couple minutes one time, and it doesn't hurt. They like to look vicious, but they're not. They're cute little dinosaurs, aren't you? Boop, boop. Anyways, so they're cute little dinosaurs. Um, they're not gonna hurt you. Okay, they're cute little things. They may look feisty, but they're not gonna hurt you at all. I've never had one break skin, so that is good as well. Something for beginners out there. Crested gecko's temperature range is ideal between 68 and 76 degrees. That's not the end all be all, but after you get up into the low 80s and upper or mid 80s, that's too warm for them. And so, with our temperature, internal temperature being 98.5, that's going to be too warm for them if they're cuddling with you. So they're not going to be one to take a nap with you. Like, and if you're wearing a hoodie, they're not going to go in your pocket and sleep there. Um, they will pass away within like 10, 15 minutes if they overheat. And so they're not going to snuggle with you, but they'll look adorable for a short period of time. Um, Crested geckos, their temperament, for me, I always make sure I am breeding calm geckos. I don't want jumpy geckos. So I know y'all don't want really jumpy geckos either. I'm always breeding for temperament. What are you doing, dude? You ready to go in? All right, he's probably getting a little warm. Let me put him away real quick. So I'm breeding for temperament. I always want calmer geckos. And but your gecko, when you first get your gecko, you will put them in their container and just let them chill for a couple weeks. Okay, let them get used to their new environment. I know when you move and get plucked out of one environment and put into another, you're like, oh crap, let me learn this real quick. Like, give me a second. They need the same thing. They just went from, if you got it from a convention, they went from one house to a little tub for a day, 2 days, and then now they're at another house, completely different. Look, everything looks different. You just need to give them a little time to figure out what's going on and get used to you, get used to your patterns, and then you can get used to them as well. Um, Crested geckos are primarily up at night. I turn my lights off at 8 p.m., and that's when they wake up, is right around 8 p.m., and that's when I do my feeding as well. I'll get into feeding in a second. So I turn it on or off at 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. It comes on, and then they go to sleep. So they sleep mostly during the day. If that doesn't work with you, you can always switch the day-night schedule as long as you have make sure the room is completely dark during the day. If you work at home, make sure the room is dark so they think that it's nighttime, and then at night make sure all the lights are on so that they know that it's daytime. So they have a natural day-night cycle. Um, Feeding. Yeah, we talked about temperature. We're going to talk about feeding. Now, I feed my geckos Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Monday and Wednesday, I am feeding Pangea Growth and Breeding Formula. Let me show you the bag real quick. It is this one right here. I got a big one because I got 38 of these suckers to feed. This will last me about a month, maybe a little bit more. But so this is a protein powder. It looks like a protein powder, okay? Just a fine powder, but it has all the nutrients that it needs, that a gecko needs. blended in bugs, crickets in it. I will say my females tend to need a little bit more calcium, and so I do once, maybe twice a month, add a little bit more calcium to the food. So I'm making sure I'm getting their calcium sacs bigger. I don't have any of y'all ever seen that with Pangea? You needing to add more calcium for your females? Yes, no. Anyways, so you mix that powder, 2 parts water with 1 part water. So you make like a ketchup consistency. I know I'm a little bit over, but I'll go over for a few minutes. First trip, let's get into it. Ketchup consistency, give that to them. On Saturdays, I'm feeding bugs. For bugs, for me right now, are crickets. This is important. They still need you add to crickets. Gotcha. Um, for me, a lot of my adults kind of wean off crickets and bugs. Okay, not to the. Okay, I will say I add to the crickets too. I add to the crickets every week, but I add just a little. Like these things are small, okay, people. I only add a little tiny bit of powder to it, or a little tiny thing, a little bit to it, the powder. Anyways, so for it's okay if they don't want to eat the bug or like hunt for the bugs. I still offer them every once in a while, like the live bugs, but the way I still get them that protein and I mix the crickets into the food. That may not be the prettiest thing, but it's still a really good way to add the protein into their diet if they're not wanting to eat all of the bugs. Um, Important note, you need to have some kind of UVB or D3 in their life, not both, okay? Crested gecko needs to have it. So if you are not giving UVB to your geckos, which I do not, I have them in my room. I keep the shades open all day, and I have my automatic lights all the way up. It provides plenty of room for them, or plenty of light for them. If you are not giving UVB, you have to get calcium with D3 in it and give that to your sprinkle your crickets with it, and then give the crickets to the geckos. That is very important. You don't want it to lead to metabolic bone disease. Okay? Important. D3 or calcium with D3 or UVB. Got it. Lock it in there. Okay, so other than that, you're going to mist the tank 1 to 2 times a day, depending on your humidity levels. You're going to want a high of 70 to 80% and a low of 30 to 40% humidity each day. Having enough ventilation is very important. You don't want mold. You don't want them to get respiratory infections if it's too wet in there. And if it's too dry, it could lead to dehydration. And dehydration leads to lethargy. They look really lethargic. And then, if in bad cases, it could also lead to MBD, if in extreme cases. So that is a little bit about crested geckos. Does anyone have any beginner questions or tips? Let me see if I can look at anything real quick. Handling them. I know I said first, sorry, got sidetracked. I know at first you leave them alone for 2 weeks, then you're going to be handling them for 10 to 20 minutes every day, every other day, depending on gecko. Like every one of them is different, just like people. They all have their own little attitudes. Is depending on how much they want to be handled. Hercules, who I have out here, he likes to be handled every other day. And I've gotten to the point with him where I could sit out and watch a movie with him. He'll sit on my chest, literally look at the TV. I don't know if he retains anything. They only got 2 brain cells, right? But it looks like he's watching TV with me. And when he gets warm, he just goes down to the couch. And then when he wants to chill with me again, he comes back up. So just make sure you don't see any signs of lethargy, moving like real slow. If you see that, then you want to return them to their tank so that they can cool off again. Yeah. You want them to cool off. And so, with that being said, that is the main thing. Another cool thing about crested geckos is that they don't grow their tails back when they lose them. Like you saw Hercules there, he is a frog butt. That's what we in the hobby call a crested gecko that loses their tail. A little tip if you want to make sure or want to add to the chance of your crested gecko not losing their tail, I've had one freak out on me before. He jumped into the floor, and when they are about to drop their tail, they literally throw it. It looks like almost in a perfect circle, like 3 to 5 times in my experience. That's what I've seen. I've seen two tail drops in person, and that's what they do. And then the one where he was in the floor, he started flinging it. I just stepped back, like I literally stepped like 5 feet back, like all the way away from him. And before he could detach any part of his tail, he chilled out and he stopped. So if you're ever in that situation, you can always try to back up and maybe it'll save his tail. The tails are prehensile, I believe is the word, kind of like monkeys. They do use it to jump and hang on to things. They like to overshoot their boundaries, so they often use it to grab on and like swing around, like a monkey's tail would. And so they are very useful, but it is not necessary for them to live. Crested geckos have invisible eyelids that are permanently closed, so you will never beat them in a staring contest. Sorry, they'll always get your money if you're betting on them. If they ever have food or water debris, anything like that on their eye, they just lick it off with their tongue. When you look at their tongue when they come out, it's like a little spoon shaped at the end. I thought it was pretty cool. Crested gecko do have teeth. That is important to know. Um, I think that's about it, folks. Also, I know I went over a little bit. I really appreciate all of you coming out here and spending time with me. Um, it means a lot. It doesn't matter if it's one person watching me or 1,000. I appreciate every single one of you. It means a lot that you would want to watch me and learn a little bit about crested geckos, about what I gotta say. And so I appreciate y'all being here with me, and I look forward to the opportunity to keep teaching and for me to keep learning about crested geckos in the future. We will be back in 2 weeks. This is going to be every other week thing. So we will be back on the 8th, it looks like. All right? Right? 1, 2. Yep. We will be back April 8th, and I will be doing my live demonstration of my tank build. So if you want to see how I do that and how I get all of my tools to do that, all of my accessories to do that, make sure to come back right then. All right? Thank you, Northern Herper. Cresties do rule, and I will catch y'all on the next episode. Thank y'all so much. Have a good evening.